Close your eyes for just a second. I want you to imagine the distant, rhythmic chime of church bells echoing through the crisp morning air. Now picture a warm, golden sunrise slowly washing over the sloping, red-tiled roofs of old Portuguese Goa. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We aren't just reading a textbook today. We're literally traveling back in time. We're exploring A Baker from Goa by Lucio Rodriguez, which is this beautiful journey into a world where a simple village baker was the absolute heart and soul of the community.
I really want you to think about this as we go through today's lesson. What if one simple loaf of bread could tell the history of an entire place? It's a pretty fascinating thought, isn't it? We usually look for history in, grand forts or dusty museums. But honestly, sometimes the truest culture of a place is baked right into its daily food. Today, we're blending this immersive travel documentary vibe with the ultimate targeted board exam prep. We are going to master every single nuance of this chapter together.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to Old Goa. Let's explore that deep Portuguese influence. So here we are, anchored exactly to where our journey begins on the page. Chapter 7, Glimpses of India, Part 1. We're going to cover every single detail, literally paragraph by paragraph. By the end of this, you won't just understand the story, you'll actually feel it, and you'll be perfectly prepared for your boards. No skipping, no shortcuts.
Let's experience the author's exact words. He writes, "Our elders are often heard reminiscing nostalgically about those good old Portuguese days, the Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished, but the makers are still there. We still have among us the mixers, the molders, and those who bake the loaves. Those age-old, time-tested furnaces still exist. The fire in the furnaces has not yet been extinguished. The thud and jingle of the traditional baker's bamboo, heralding his arrival in the morning, can still be heard in some places. Maybe the father is not alive, but the son still carries on the family profession. These bakers are, even today, known as pader in Goa. Just listen to how he describes that thud and jingle. You can almost hear the bamboo striking the cobblestone streets, can't you?"
Let's quickly put our CBSE teacher hats on for a second and break down this vocabulary, because these exact words fetch marks, right? Reminiscing nostalgically essentially means thinking fondly about the past. In Hindi, we'd say yade taza karna, that warm, fuzzy feeling of the good old days. Heralding simply means announcing. The bamboo's thud was literally heralding or announcing his morning arrival to the whole village. And finally, pader. This is absolutely crucial. It's the Portuguese-influenced Goan term for the traditional baker.
Section 2. The Baker's Morning Visit. This was a true village event. Rodriguez continues, "During our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be our friend, companion, and guide. He used to come at least twice a day. Once when he set out in the morning on his selling round, and then again when he returned after emptying his huge basket. The jingling thud of his bamboo woke us up from sleep, and we ran to meet and greet him. Why was it so? Was it for the love of the loaf? Not at all. The loaves were bought by some pesquine or bestine, the maidservant of the house. What we longed for were those bread bangles, which we chose carefully. Sometimes it was sweetbread of special make. Do you see the pure anticipation here? The kids didn't care about the regular loaves at all. They just wanted those special sweet bread bangles." The baker made his musical entry on the scene with the jang, jang sound of his specially made bamboo staff. One hand supported the basket on his head, and the other banged the bamboo on the ground. He would greet the lady of the house with "Good morning," and then place his basket on the vertical bamboo. We kids would be pushed aside with a mild rebuke, and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. But we would not give up. We would climb a bench or the parapet and peep into the basket somehow. I can still recall the typical fragrance of those loaves. Loaves for the elders and the bangles for the children. Then we did not even care to brush our teeth or wash our mouths properly. And why should we? Who would take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for the toothbrush? And why was it necessary at all? The tiger never brushed his teeth. Hot tea could wash and clean up everything so nicely after all.
Let's decode a few more terms from that wonderful scene. A mild rebuke is just a gentle scolding. A little daunt from the elders to push the eager kids out of the way. A parapet is a low protective wall, which the kids would frantically climb just to get a peek at the bread basket. And fragrance, of course, is that intoxicating sweet smell of fresh bread. The author uses this light, humorous language to vividly paint the innocence of his childhood.
Section 3. Bread in Goan culture, the social backbone of the village.
Listen to how essential this was. Marriage gifts are meaningless without the sweet bread known as the bowl. Just as a party or a feast loses its charm without bread, not enough can be said to show how important a baker can be for a village. The lady of the house must prepare sandwiches on the occasion of her daughter's engagement. Cakes and bolinas are a must for Christmas as well as other festivals. Thus, the presence of the baker's furnace in the village is absolutely essential. Think about that. Every single major life milestone, marriages, engagements, Christmas, was completely anchored to the warmth of the baker's oven.
Now, notice how these details perfectly map out the exact cultural facts you absolutely need to memorize for your short answer questions. You must know these pairs. Marriages require the sweetbread called bowl, engagements demand sandwiches prepared by the lady of the house, and Christmas and festivals are totally incomplete without cakes and bolinas. This is high-yield exam material right here, so lock it in.
Section 4. The painter's life. Let's look at his dress and status.
The author describes his look perfectly. The baker or bread seller of those days had a peculiar dress known as the kabbai. It was a single-piece long frock reaching down to the knees. In our childhood, we saw bakers wearing a shirt and trousers which were shorter than full-length ones and longer than half pants. Even today, anyone who wears a half pant which reaches just below the knees invites the comment that he is dressed like a pater. Notice the distinct visual imagery here? The baker was instantly recognizable just by his silhouette walking through the village.
And this brilliantly illustrates the passage of time within the chapter itself. You've got to understand the difference here. In the older Portuguese days, they wore the kabbai, which was a single-piece long frock. But by the time the author was a child, the fashion had evolved to a shirt and those peculiar three-quarter trousers, longer than half pants but shorter than full pants. That specific length became the permanent, recognizable trademark of the paida.
Wrapping up the text, Rodriguez tells us about the business side of things. The baker usually collected his bills at the end of the month. Monthly accounts used to be recorded on some wall in pencil. Baking was indeed a profitable profession in the old days. The baker and his family never starved. He, his family, and his servants always looked happy and prosperous. Their plump physique was an open testimony to this. Even today, any person with a jackfruit-like physical appearance is easily compared to a baker. It was a genuinely good living. The pencil marks on the walls show the deep trust within the community, and their prosperity was obvious to everyone who saw them. I want to quickly zoom in on this specific, really humorous simile, a jackfruit-like physical appearance. The author uses this to imply a plump, round, well-fed, and prosperous look. It's a delightful visual that proves the baker and his family never went hungry. They were the absolute picture of health and success in the village.
Section 5. Real-life connection. A look at living history.
The survival of the pandero is actually a really powerful symbol. It represents the vital importance of preserving our cultural roots and traditional occupations. Think about it. In a world of giant factories and fast food, the art of the leavened, oven-baked bread, which was a gift from the Portuguese, reminds us that our food heritage is living history. It actively connects generations.
All right, Section 6, Board Exam Masterclass. Here's how to score full marks.
So, the crucial point for the boards is mastering these 3 specific areas. First, the core theme. It's all about nostalgia for Portuguese culture and the innocence of a Goan childhood. Second, the central message, the essential nature of preserving traditions and how they bind a community together. And third, the character sketch of the potter. You must describe him as a friendly companion, a vital community figure, and a prosperous businessman.
Here are the exact types of questions you need to be ready for. Expect to see something like, why was the baker's furnace absolutely essential in a Goan village? For that, you'll need to list all the occasions and breads we talked about. Or, describe the changing dress of the baker from the Portuguese days to the author's childhood. These are competency checks that test if you truly grasped the finer details of the text.
To build a foolproof structure for scoring full marks on those tricky 5-mark competency questions, just follow this 3-step formula when asked about the importance of the baker. Step 1. Identify the specific bread, like bol or bolinhas. Step 2. Link it directly to the occasion, like marriages or Christmas. And Step 3. Conclude your answer by stating that, therefore, the furnace's presence was a cultural necessity. It's a perfect, logical flow that examiners love.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to remember this thought. Sometimes history isn't found in grand monuments. Sometimes it's hidden inside the smell of freshly baked bread. Let's do a rapid-fire 1-minute revision right now to lock this in. The traditional Goan baker is called a pater. He announced his arrival with the jang-jang of his bamboo staff. Kids loved the bread bangles, while elders got the regular loaves. The old Portuguese dress was the single-piece kabai, which later changed to three-quarter pants. And most importantly, from the bowl at weddings to the bolinias at Christmas, the baker was the prosperous, beating heart of the Goan village. Keep this story fresh in your mind, and you are absolutely going to ace this chapter.